Okay. Phil Spector.
He's dead.
So tell me about the Phil Spector and Lana Clarkson thing. And before we get into it, I'll just say really quick. I met Lana Clarkson about a week before she died. I was pretty new to LA at the time, and I was working on what I would describe as a micro-budget vampire movie that was being paid for on these producers like credit cards. It was literally like what we call a credit card movie. And we needed a scream queen for one of the scenes, just a day player part. We needed one day, come down, we'll be in like one shot, and then you'll get your money and you're done. And he knew about Lana Clarkson, and so I remember me and this executive producer, I was like a second assistant director on the film. Me and this EP went down to this hotel near LAX where there was a fan convention happening. And people signing autographs. It's all B-listers, D-listers and stuff. And Lana Clarkson was there, and he knew she was going to be there, and this is where I can go. I can take her the script and get a hold of her. And so I remember she was at her booth, and we talked to her, and I did two things I remember about her. She was very tall, and she was very nice.
Yes.
Very kind person.
That's what I've read about her.
Super kind person. And he gave her the script, and she was interested, and then we never heard from her. And when you're making a movie, sometimes you just lose track of the real world. You're just so wrapped up in what you're doing. And I remember knowing that Phil Spector had been arrested for murdering somebody. And then one day, this executive producer calls me and he's in a panic. He's just gone to the grocery store. And while he's checking out, he picks up a tabloid and he sees Lana Clarkson on the cover. And then he realized, holy shit, that's the person that Phil Spector shot. And now he's panicking.
Right.
And of course, he's thinking of himself, oh, I bet our script is in evidence now. It's probably in her car. And I'm like, I don't think the police care about a screenplay for a vampire movie. So what do you remember from the Phil Spector?
Again, this was another case where, because of the celebrity status, I said I need to go out there. And I took Ed Winter, my assistant chief, but I think then he was a lieutenant. But I took him out there as well because he needed to see how these scenes function and that sometimes things don't go according to how they should go because sometimes, like I said, the police can be difficult to work with. And I think Alhambra PD was handling, but then it took over to the sheriff's department. So we were dealing with sheriffs. So we went out to the scene, and I remember in the driveway, at the end of one of the driveway, he had all these small statues, Disney statues, all along this driveway. And I thought, that's kind of odd. But so I...
What, like of the dwarves or what?
Yeah, I think it was the dwarves, might have been Cinderella as well, or whatever. So we went to the door. I don't know if that was the front door. I think it was the front door of the place, and the scene hadn't really been processed totally yet. So we were very careful about what we were going to do. So I didn't venture very far into the house because it's their crime scene.
And she was shot in kind of the foyer, the front area.
She was right there.
So she was still there in the chair.
She was still there in the chair when I saw her. And, my opinion was when I first saw her that it looked like she'd been placed in the chair, like she'd been moved to this and then sat in the chair because her legs were like out straight like this. And it looked like somebody might have put her into that position.
Yeah.
To maybe cover up the rest of their crime or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was interesting just because of the circumstances of it, and that I grew up on Phil Spector music.
Right.
So he was a name to me. I mean, it's not like I didn't know who he was. So it's interesting, but it's good training for my staff, my new staff. He was definitely a weird motor scooter. Yeah.
A weird motor scooter, he was. Yeah. So you were satisfied with the outcome of that case?
Yeah,
There, even though it took, I think, 2 trials.
Yeah, because I think we recovered, the criminalists recovered a piece of dental tooth, whatever.
Yeah, her teeth were on the floor. Some of her teeth were shot out. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was tragic. Nice lady. This is an interesting one because this gets into some conspiracies. So the kind of right-wing lightning rod media owner, Andrew Breitbart.
Yes.
Died of natural causes. That was like a heart attack or something like that. But you tell me about your experience working that case.
Well, I was taking calls as normal, and I get this call from, I think there was 2 people on the line, and they were associates of Mr. Breitbart, and they were asking me questions, some of which I did not have the answer to yet, and but they started hinting at a conspiracy rather than I'm just got high blood pressure and I crashed. I mean, that's pretty much what it was, but everything's a conspiracy, and the big secret is underway and stuff like that.
So they wanted it to seem like he had been murdered.
Well, they wanted something else so that they could sensationalize it for their publication.
Right.
And, but it worked out. It was just like, no, I have high blood pressure and I crashed. And I didn't even know who Breitbart was.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not my field of expertise.
Yeah.